Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Monday edition of Today in Sports Betting, Part 1. This is the NBA. Scott and I are going to take a look at kind of a short card. And, let's get rocking and rolling. We got 5 games on the card today. Let's bring him on. You know him, you love him, blah, blah, blah. It is Scott Reichel. What's up, bud? Happy Monday.
It's good to be back. Looking forward to breaking down some basketball and some baseball today. But, it is everything you just said. It was a pretty limited card. You have to start wondering about motivation for teams. I know that, for example, the Kings and the Pelicans got eliminated from the playoffs over the weekend. So the question is, are they going to immediately just stop caring about basketball? And the question is, I don't know. Or the answer is, I don't know. Because of the fact that you have some teams that are going to be fighting for experience, some teams that, want to end the season on a high note potentially, and other teams that might just say, let's just get out of here. We're in a bubble. Let's just go home. So
Yeah.
I'm curious how that's going to pay off. How do you think that's going to – I think the Pelicans are going to respond terribly. I don't know about you, but this team didn't guard anybody in the first place. This team came out flat as a pancake against the Spurs yesterday. I have no faith in this Pelicans team to wake up for a meaningless game in the future. I think they're going to pack it in.
Yeah, I was going to say because of their youth, I thought that they would respond poorly. And then I started thinking about it, like, I'm not sure a veteran team would respond either. I'm not sure that everybody that was eliminated isn't just going to say, what the hell with it.
Well, you can make the argument that if a veteran team was that far behind, maybe they would put the younger guys in more, kind of like what the Spurs decided to do for this bubble as a whole, and they've actually looked pretty competitive. Yeah. So maybe they can go in a different direction, perhaps. But for the Pelicans and even the Kings, who are two relatively young rosters, I got to assume mentally they're just going to check out of this thing.
And that's the thing. It takes it seems like you have to be a lot more in it mentally to play good defense. It's a lot of when you check out, it shows up first, I think, on the defensive side. You probably agree with that, eh? And I think that's certainly a problem with the Pelicans, who play bad defense under the best of circumstances. So we'll keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on their totals, or maybe some money to be made there on anything that's not listed at 240. We'll see. From a fan's perspective, Scott, you and I were talking about this before the show. From a fan's perspective, there's some pretty good games today. You've got the 1-2 game there, in the East. You've got the 1-3 game in the West. From a betting perspective, not quite as cut and dried. So let's grip it and rip it here. But we're going to start with a couple of the early games, and these are games that maybe going by the time this actually gets up. But as you and I record, it is about 11 a.m. Eastern time. So let's talk about this. What I thought was one of the more surprising looking lines, at least on the face of it. Oklahoma City and the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix minus 6.5 right now, Scott. 222.5 is your total if you want to get involved with anything there. You and I talked about this briefly before we started the show. The Suns, they still think they've got a shot at it, buddy. And I mean, I guess they do. They're in 11th, but they're only 2.5 back of the Grizzlies. They're a game back of the Trailblazers. It is indeed the wild, wild west, and the Suns have won all 5 of their games in the bubble. You like them again today against what on paper at least should be a much better Oklahoma City Thunder team.
Well, the Thunder, couple of reasons why this line is going up for the Suns. First reason, because of the fact that the Thunder are going to be resting a bunch of people. Steven Adams is most likely going to be out. Gallinari is going to be out. Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be out. Schroeder is going to be out. So the Thunder have decided in the second end of a back-to-back to basically just rest some people now, because there are more important games in the future.
Are you seeing that? Are you officially seeing that somewhere?
Yes. I'm on RotoWire, and it says, according to this, that all those guys are out. So I'm assuming that they're all going to be out.
Okay, because my normal site that usually does a pretty good job, I've just got Adams is questionable and Schroeder out. So
yeah, RotoWire is not always 100% with its daily basketball lineups, but it's usually pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. I've definitely used them in the past. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so based on that, I'm not surprised. I mean, the main absence is obviously going to be Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think is just a tremendous player. Gallinari is a good shooter, but at the end of the day, he's he's always injured, so that doesn't really surprise me. And Adams a very good rim protector who can actually guard Ayton. And now you have Mike Muscala on Ayton. That's kind of a disaster. But the second reason is because of the fact that the Thunder played yesterday. So the question is, they scored 120-something points against the Wizards. I know that they coasted to a win, but most likely they're going to be a little bit tired. And the Thunder are resting some guys. So the question is with motivation, clearly doesn't look like the Thunder really care much about this game.
No, they've pretty much – the only motivation the Thunder would have at this point would be moving from fifth to third. And they're 2.5 games back of Denver, so I think it would pretty much take –
I think I'd rather be fifth. I'd rather play the Lakers and the Clippers right now.
Well, that's the thing. But the problem is your first round matchup. Would you rather play would you rather play the Rockets than the Jazz?
Are the Jazz the 5 or the 6?
The Jazz are the 6.
Okay.
So if you move to the 3, you're going to play the Jazz.
I mean, that's a lot easier than the Rockets, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of the Thunder believe that they have a chance to beat anybody when healthy, and they feel like they don't need to push it. Because the last thing you kind of need, I'd say about, a week or two before the playoffs is for one of your star players to get injured unnecessarily.
Yeah, playoffs start a week from today.
Yeah, and that's what the Rockets have been doing with Westbrook. I think Westbrook could have played with a bone bruise if they were in the middle of the playoffs, but they just decided, we're playing the Lakers who are resting some guys and then the Kings, and we don't really need Westbrook to win those games. And they just decided, let's just wait till he's healthy. So yeah. Some teams are starting to balance their lineups a little bit in order to preserve the health of some of their key guys.
And it certainly makes betting the games a challenge. So let's take a quick look here. And
I'm leaning to the Suns for the first game just because the Thunder don't seem motivated and they're resting a bunch of guys. So I feel like you kind of have to lean to the Thunder there. I mean, to the Suns there. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see it. I don't see another way to play that. If you're going to play a side, that's really the only side you can play. There's no way you can back a shorthanded Thunder team on that one. So next game is the aforementioned Jazz, 7.5 over the Mavs. Again, this seems like a sucker line to me on the surface. Tell me your thoughts here, bud.
Well, Utah's 7.5-point favorites for this matchup right now. A couple reasons why. Doncic is out. Porzingis is out. Simply put, they just don't think Dallas is going to score that much. Meanwhile, Utah might be missing Donovan Mitchell, who could potentially be resting after playing a ton of minutes in that double overtime thriller against Denver. But they think that even with Conley, Gobert, et cetera, they're still better than the Mavericks. Because the Mavericks' projected starting lineup is going to be Barea, Seth Curry, Hardaway, Jackson, and Marjanovic. So that lineup's, I'd say, not necessarily that great. It's going to be fun seeing Boban play like 30-something minutes, but from a betting perspective, it's just a matter of I can understand why this line's gone up for Utah. Do I want to lay 7.5 with Utah? No. So I guess I'd lean Dallas, but if I really had to lean one direction, I'd lean to the under. Because I think that with Doncic and Porzingis out, I expect Dallas to play a lot slower because of the fact that I don't think Barea and Steph Curry are really shot creators. I don't think anybody in the projected starting lineup is a shot creator. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey Burke potentially start. But if we're looking at Utah as well, they've been a lot worse defensively and they've been mediocre offensively. But if Mitchell decides not to play and he's currently questionable, both lineups leave a lot to be desired offensively. So I'd lean to the under 224.5.
Yeah, I'd probably get on board with that. Although I've got it currently at 222.5. Do you have it presently 224.5?
I just realized no, it is 222.5. I saw something at 224, but I guess that line already moved.
Yeah, it's I think the other.
I think it's been plummeting correctly.
Right, everybody's waking up and realizing that the big two aren't playing.
It was actually going to be my play. It was going to be my play of the day last night, except for the fact that all the books pulled the line on the totals, so I had no option of that. But it opened up at 228.5 before the news came out, and then it got taken off the board, and then it immediately got reopened to like 4 or 5 points lower, which makes perfect sense.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't exactly expect that to be a very solidly played game offensively.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of holes there. Yeah, I think the Mavs offense is going to be much more deliberate. I do worry about their ability on defense. I think you're going to give up some defensive ability there. But
Well,
Yeah,
Marjanovic, even though he can't really run up and down the court that well, he's still a pretty solid rim protector.
true, true. I think everything's going to be a lot more deliberate running the offense there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the under is probably a good play there.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's talk about what should be the premier game of the day. Raptors Bucks, the 1-2 teams go at it there in the East. Bucks -6. Nobody got anything to play for here, Scott. I mean, the Raptors are fending off
The
Boston
Celtics.
a little bit, but I don't think they consider them a very serious threat at this point. You got an angle here for us?
The truth is that even though the Bucks have basically clinched the 1 seed and they don't really have much to play for, on paper, I think they actually have a lot to play for because they've been playing some terrible basketball lately.
Yeah.
I feel like it just needs to be addressed. When you lose to the Mavericks, they blew a 7-point lead with 2 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm.
They should have won that game, but they didn't. They gave up 130 plus points again. This team defensively is completely falling apart. And you made the same argument with the Lakers, where you say even though seeding doesn't matter for us at this moment because we already know what seed we're going to be, we're the number 1. You can say, well, do we care more about health or entering the playoffs in good form? And I think most teams would like a balance of the two, which unfortunately is unavailable for the Bucks and the Lakers. They've just been awful for the last week. And I know that the Bucks had a nice comeback win against the Heat earlier last week, where they were down double digits at the half and came back and won. When Jimmy Butler and Dragic aren't playing, you probably shouldn't be down double digits at the half. And then after that, you respond by losing to the Mavericks, a game you probably should have won. I think Milwaukee's going to come out and actually care about this game. One, to put Toronto in their place, to say we're the number 1 team in the East, deal with it. And 2, to say, well, we have something to build on for the playoffs. So am I thrilled with this line for Milwaukee? No, because I don't really think they should be laying -6 against Toronto based on how they played lately. But I do think that from a motivation angle, I think Milwaukee's going to be geared up for this game. So I'm kind of torn in this spot.
Giannis shows up on the injury report due to his teeth.
Yeah, but he's probable. He had like a toothache or something, so he's expected to play.
I've never seen anybody on the injury report because of teeth before.
I haven't either. I noticed that too, and I'm like, oh, what happened? His legs hurting him? It's like, no, he has a tooth issue. I'm like, what? What?
Well, I can speak from somebody that's fought a couple of these the last couple of months.
They're kind of painful.
They are, and it's hard to focus on anything else. So, but I assume they have pretty good dental care in the bubble.
Hopefully.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take Toronto on the points here, but I really am. I don't know that it's necessarily a switch that Milwaukee can flip. You say, well, they need to play better, and like the Lakers need. I don't know that you can necessarily just go, okay, well, now we're going to start trying.
It's not a matter of, I agree. I just feel like if people are wondering why do I care about this game, Milwaukee probably won't. I think Milwaukee is going to care about this game. So I think the effort will be there. I don't know if the defensive intensity is going to pay off because it's been terrible for the last, 2 weeks. But I think that Milwaukee is not going to go in and say, oh, we're just coasting to the playoffs. It seems like that's what the Lakers were doing before that Pacers game, where they were just resting some guys and doing nothing, and they just were losing anyway. And you're going, well, of course they lost. LeBron didn't play against Houston, etc. But no, Milwaukee is trying. They're just playing badly. I still don't think they're the best team in the East right now.
You still like Toronto, right?
I like Toronto from a couple months ago. Of course, they were my sleeper pick at the time. It seems like everybody's kind of jumped on board, but my sleeper pick's now Miami. But if you want to just talk about 3 teams that could potentially make a run, I respect Indiana, but they're not making a run. I mean, let's be real. But I think you got the Heat as the sleeper, and then you got Toronto and Boston. And I think you can make an argument in a 7-game series that Boston could, or that any of those teams could beat Milwaukee. I think Boston has an issue because Kemba's still injured. He had, 4 points his last game, and they won in overtime against Orlando yesterday. I mean, It didn't look great, and they don't have anyone who can guard Giannis. But I think you can agree with me that it's definitely not a foregone conclusion that Milwaukee's going to coast like they were, I'd say, 4 months ago, 3 months ago?
Toronto beat them last year, I mean, you can't it's hard not to make the case that Toronto has no shot when Toronto beat them last year and ended up winning the championship. So I think this is I don't know how people go to sleep on the world champions. I mean,
well, it's because Kawhi's not there. I said the same thing.
I know it's because they lost Kawhi, but
I think Nick Nurse the best coach in the league.
It's hard to argue with that because they've been under the radar the whole season, and they've done nothing but play good basketball. So
on the record, Nurse is like minus 1,200 to win Coach of the Year. So yeah, I think he's respected by his peers.
Well, they're finally figuring it out.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna play Toronto there. What are you gonna play, bud?
I'm gonna agree with you, but I think that if this line looks like a massive trap, though, and I'm just going to address that because based on the way that Milwaukee's played over the last couple of weeks, there's no way they should be laying 6 against Toronto. Toronto's been arguably the second best team in the entire bubble.
I think you're paying a Giannis tax. I think you always play a Giannis tax. Like
you are too. I'm just stating a fact that if Milwaukee's struggling to beat even regular teams like Dallas, I don't think they should be laying 6. But we'll see what happens there.
And Milwaukee certainly has the ability to play their best basketball and win this game by double digits.
Correct. I think Toronto actually matches up decently well with Milwaukee because Toronto has a decent amount of big men that they can form a wall against Giannis with.
Yeah, and they have fouls to give. They don't.
Ibaka, even Marc Gasol, who's been a phenomenal defender his entire career. Of course, Giannis is faster than some of those guys, but you're kind of daring Giannis to shoot anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, only to Toronto also.
Okay. Heat and the Pacers. 3.5 for the Heat. 221 is the total.
I know T.J. Warren's questionable, but he was questionable for the game over the weekend. He had 39 points, so I don't think you can really read much into that. But I don't know if Jimmy Butler is going to play. I don't know if Dragic is going to play. I still like Miami, so I'm going to lean to Miami. It wouldn't surprise me if the Pacers win this game. But I said before, the Heat are my sleeper team, and I just love the depth on this unit. So I'm going to lean to the Heat.
This is a weird game for me because this is most likely going to be the playoff preview here. Now the Sixers could overtake these teams and end up there in the mix. They're just one game back. Both these teams are tied on the 4-5 line. Sixers are one game back. What do you think the motivation is here? Do you think they you think they try to you think the Sixers make a run and try to get to that 3 line and I mean the 4 line and avoid playing the Boston Celtics in the first round?
The 76ers?
Yeah, you think the Sixers rather play the Heat or the Pacers as opposed to the Celtics?
I think they're screwed. I mean they're without Simmons and Embiid now, so I don't think it really matters what they want to do. I think that they're just not going to make up enough ground. I give them respect, though. They did come from behind yesterday, lost Embiid in the first half. They were down double digits, and then they ended up coming back to, I believe, tie it, and they lost by 3 in the end. So they did put up a good fight. I think you can agree with me, without Embiid and Simmons, I think that they're basically screwed when it comes to beating.
They were screwed without Simmons.
Correct.
Without Embiid,
you're rocking with Al Horford and Tobias Harris, and that's not great. So
Al Horford just isn't a guy that you have that many minutes. If you got Al Horford putting 30 minutes, your team's in trouble. That's the bottom line.
I wouldn't go that far because he's still a solid defensive player. Offensively, he's nowhere near the player he used to be when he was on Atlanta, et cetera. But either or. So for the sake of this conversation, I don't think that the 76ers are going to move up because I just don't think they have enough talent on the roster anymore. And I don't think Brett Brown's the coach that's going to get more with less, if you know what I mean. So I think this is the playoff preview. I think you're going to see something along those lines. And I'm going to treat this like the playoff series because I think the Heat are the better team. I'm impressed with how the Pacers have been playing. If Sabonis was healthy, I might lean to the Pacers. But I like Miami more, and I think Spoelstra is a tremendous head coach. So I'm going to lean to Miami here.
Okay. Butler and Dragic are both upgraded to probable at this point.
I'd still wait for the confirmation.
Yeah, P.J. Warren is not on the injury report, by the way.
I saw him as a game time, but he's going to play. I just see him as a game time. So you might want to wait for the injury reports on some of these games before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think the Heat is the better team here. Pacers have had kind of a nice little run there behind Warren, but
I'm just asking, do the Pacers? I know Brogdon's back, so I guess that gives them a A 2 option. Is this team basically just T.J. Warren and the Musketeers?
That's what it is at this point. Yeah, and it's kind of
So,
weird the
I'm
way.
going to lean to Miami because they actually have contributors from I don't how many contributors do you think they have? Like 7 guys?
They spread it around, man. Yeah, that is what I like about the Miami Heat is
I feel like if Indiana's going to win, they need Warren to go for 35 again.
yeah,
And
that's really it.
that's why I like Miami, because I feel like as teams start to adjust to the Pacers, realizing, oh, wait a second, this guy Warren's going to shoot 20-something times and he's going to be their sole source of offense, I think people are going to adjust. So props to Warren, solid player. I do love Brogdon as a point guard. But without Sabonis, I think that's going to catch up to them when the games seriously matter.
You think Oladipo's completely healthy?
No, I think that's the reason why he contemplated not coming back to the bubble in the first place, and then he changed his mind. So if I had to guess, I would say he's probably around 80-something%. But the truth is, he was terrible when he came back from the bubble when he came back from injury in the first place. He was shooting like 37%. He was terrible.
Yeah, that's what I feel like they might have rushed him. I really do.
I don't know if they rushed him because he's not injured again. So I guess it could be worse. But he's clearly not, I'd say, the same guy that he was pre-injury.
No.
So maybe next year he will be. But I guess Indiana realized we're going to the playoffs, and at the time, they still had Sabonis. So they kind of just decided, let's give this a shot. And then Sabonis gets injured, and Oladipo goes, well, I don't really know about that. And then I guess he just got bored. He decided, all right, I'm back. So he's been okay in the bubble. He's been the same guy that people thought he'd be as a borderline all-star. No. But, the Pacers have been, I'd say, right where I thought they would be at the start of the year. In the what seed are they? The 5 right now? They're the 4.
The 4.
I think they're the 5.
Yeah, they're behind they're tied with Miami.
Yeah, but okay. So I'll put them at the 5 because I think Miami's going to win this game. So still, it's where I thought Indiana would be. If you asked me where I thought Indiana would be at the start of the season, I would have said the 5 or the 6. So that's about right.
Yeah, and in the real world, where a home team with a home court advantage makes a difference, this game could mean more. But when you're in the bubble and there's really no home advantage,
4 or 5 means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, zero. Like I said, the only thing you'd be looking at would be dropping to the 6, and
I think we agree that 76ers aren't exactly a huge threat to move up without Embiid and Simmons.
No, I agree with that. I'll go with you there on the Miami Heat. I think they're the better team. Would it surprise me to see the Pacers go off? No, it wouldn't. If Warren goes off for another 40 or 50, but I think I think this is a Miami team that's capable of guarding him and shutting him down. So
it's a fun little side story though, because Butler and Warren got into it in the beginning of the season like 7 months ago. So this should be a somewhat interesting game potentially, because I'm assuming Butler's going to want to guard Warren one-on-one the entire time. So this could be a little bit interesting, but I'm not sure how that's going to pay off from a betting perspective. But I've always liked Butler as a defender, so it should be a pretty interesting matchup for Warren.
All right, last game on the card here, bud, the 1-3 matchup there in the West. Lakers -5, 221. Lakers ever going to win another game, brother?
I hope so. I got a ticket on them to win the championship, but I said about a week ago that I said the Clippers are the best team in the league, and you kind of laughed me off, and the Lakers haven't won a game since.
Well, the Clippers haven't exactly been distinguishing themselves either. So
that is correct, but I know Paul George didn't play yesterday, so that kind of played a factor in why the Nets scored 140-something points. Props on the Nets, by the way. They're at roughly 500, and everybody on their team took a nap. So props to them. But
I know we were really down on them when we did our NBA preview show.
So far, I was more down on the Wizards, and
that's true too.
That's so far paid off. I got a prop pending on them, which looks pretty good at the moment, but we'll see what happens.
Not to win a game in the bubble?
I got a winless team at plus 300. So
nice.
I'm going to see what happens there. I'm 2 games out, so we'll see what happens. Clippers lost yesterday, though, clinched me the under in their bubble win total. So that was a pretty solid result for me. But for this actual matchup,
can you bet on the Lakers at this point?
It's really tough, especially now that Jamal Murray's healthy for the Nuggets, and his first game back, he played like 40 minutes, and he was actually fantastic in that game. Plus, Porter's now turned into a serious threat. Jokic is a matchup problem. I guess I have to lean to the Lakers because everybody's playing. It's like the Lakers realized wait a second, we're bad now? And they just have to try to piece it together at the last minute, as what seems like LeBron's teams always do before they end up going on a serious playoff run. But I said going in that I think the supporting cast is a disaster. You're relying on 30 minutes from Caldwell Pope, Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, and Quinn Cook was good in his last game, but you know what I mean. This supporting cast is one of the worst supporting casts in the league. They need LeBron and AD to carry every single game. And I'm not sure if they're going to do that in a regular season game where they already clinched the 1 seed. So I would probably lean to Denver. Am I thrilled about it? No, because Denver seems to lay eggs every now and then.
Yeah, they do.
But I think I have to lean to the Denver +5 until I actually see the Lakers show me something.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm not gonna make a massive sell the car play on this, but until the Lakers show that they can be competitive, they've obviously lost 3 terrible games in a row since clinching. I think you got to play the Nuggets there.
We're on the same page there. The Nuggets are still potential. They can still catch the Clippers, right?
The Nuggets can still catch the Clippers. Yes, they are.
Yeah, so they're still playing.
They're a game back of the Clips.
Yeah, so they're still playing for something. That's the point. The Lakers are.
That takes you, and that actually makes a difference because that takes you from the Jazz to the Mavericks. And I'd much rather play the Mavericks at this point than the Jazz.
Wait, you'd rather play the Mavericks than the Jazz?
I would rather play the Mavericks than the Jazz. Yeah, I think the Mavericks are too inconsistent.
I personally disagree with you there, but you make the argument either way. It's just a matter of watching Utah, especially without Bogdanovich. That team can't score. And plus, but the issue that you have for Denver is that Utah's a division rival. And you saw yesterday, Saturday, I should say, Utah brought them double overtime. So Utah gave them a little bit of a run there. I personally think Denver kind of owns Utah. If you've seen the recent matchups, Denver tends to perform really well. So I'd actually rather play Utah. But the point is, whether or not Denver wants the 2 or the 3, they still have something to play for, hypothetically, based on seeding, and the Lakers don't. So you can argue about motivation, but I don't think that really matters when the Lakers know, we kind of got to figure out this basketball thing right before the playoffs. So I think motivation's there for both teams. The Lakers have looked so bad.
I don't think anybody wants to hit the playoffs looking bad. I agree. I think this is the week that everybody kind of needs to start ramping up for the playoffs.
Do you expect to see Vogel switch up some lineups, or no? Is it that time? Is it desperation time?
I think we're getting close to it. What do you think?
I think we're going to switch some lineups around. I'm not saying that you should be, of course, taking LeBron and AD off the floor together. I mean, that's just dumb. Of course, you should keep them on and play both of them arguably 40 minutes a game because you literally need to. But, I don't know, swapping McGee for Howard, swapping Quinn Cook into the starting lineup maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see take-ups like that.
You're taking Caldwell Pope out and maybe putting somebody else. You got to do something. I don't know, but whatever they're doing right now, it's not working.
No, it is. It is not working. It's weird to see them, hit a little bit of a wall like that. And we'll see how it's a veteran team, and we're certainly with veteran leadership at least. So we'll see how they respond. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Caldwell Pope is out for this one, so that'll be.
I was kind of just giving an example.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking at the injury report here to see if anybody is. Denver looks healthy-ish for the first time, and nobody, at least nobody's out.
Mm-hmm. But I'll lean to Denver because with Murray healthy, it's definitely an upgrade at the point guard position, and this team's still on paper solid. Just something mentally about them, they are just too inconsistent for me to back long term. But for this game, I think they could show up.
I think you and I are pretty well agreed on this card, right? I got the Suns, I got the under in the Jazz game, but Toronto, Miami, and Denver. Is that pretty much where you're at?
Yeah, we're on the same page for all this. Am I thrilled with any of these bets? Not really. But at the end of the day, we said Saturday we didn't like the card either, but that was just a testament to how good the card was. And then Saturday's card was ridiculous, where you had about 3 overtime games, and every game was decided by like 5 points.
I'll take Miami as my best play.
The best play is the Dallas under.
Okay.
Because that game just looks like such a 108-105 game. That game just looks like such an ugly game offensively.
Yeah. The Jazz play good defense, man. They really
They're
do.
supposed to play good defense. I don't know about anymore, but I know with Gobert against Marjanovic, you're not exactly going to be going stretch 5 on us in this matchup. So you're going to have 2 7-footers in the paint the entire time. I'm going to lean to the under.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I think. Yeah. And I think the Dallas offense is obviously going to be a lot more methodical and have a lot fewer good looks, I think, than they normally do with Porzingis.
Yeah.
And so okay, there you go. Any final thoughts on this one?
No, hoping for some good basketball and hoping to figure out some of these seedings in the next couple of days. So for the last game leading up to the playoffs, potentially find some value on some teams resting guys with nothing to play for. So
Yeah.
motivation's been the key betting factor for me personally in the bubble, and it's paid off pretty well overall. I know that we ended up cashing against the Lakers. I did a couple of times. But motivation's always important, and I still think that when you break it down, even though these guys are professionals, they're willing to take their foot off the gas for even a day if they need to. So
yeah, I thought that we had that Lakers parlay, and I love that play. I didn't know the Lakers doldrums would last the entire week. I didn't know it would go 2 more games. I really thought they would.
I had a play the day on the Rockets beating money line against the Lakers after that also. So I kept it going for another game. I didn't think the Pacers would do the same, but I was there for 2 out of 3, which is a pretty solid, number there.
Fair enough. All right, buddy. Well, there you go. Let's do it again on the MLB side. What do you think?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Good luck on everybody for on your NBA cards today. We appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by and checking out Today in Sports Betting Part 1. And, of course, don't forget to check out winnersandwhiners.com for even deeper dives into each one of these games. You want to see what our handicappers are thinking over there. Stop by and check it out. Great resource for all your handicapping needs. All right. Guys, take care. Have a great day. Good luck on all of your plays today. Stay safe. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.